Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing Assassin Rogue PvP guide. This has been something you guys have been asking me to do. I did recently hit 2400 on my Rogue with two different builds, so I'll be going over those in the video today. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get this started. First build is going to be all about the single target build. So this is going to be more for like going for like stealing bases or defending sometimes, because sometimes you might get asked if there's like no hunters and all that stuff. So if you're not going to be in team fights as often, or if you're on AB, Deep Wind, stuff like that, anything that's like Silver Shard Mines or Eye of the Storm, etc., where you're going to be in team fights more often, probably, um, is what I usually ran for this build. So most of the talents are going to be pretty much pretty standard what most rogues are running. For the left side, if you are not playing a Kingsbane build, but this is what I like, it's my personal preference and what I played for, you can switch out lethality, and cold blood for like deeper stratagem and alacrity. So but like I said, this is my personal preference build, and like I said, if you don't want to run Kingsbane, then you can switch out for those three on the left side of the talent tree. Everything else is pretty much pretty standard, what everybody else mostly runs. Like the only optional talents you can kind of switch out are for like, you know, maybe even like Shadow Runner for like Fleetfoot or Unbreakable Stride or something like that. For the most part, everybody else usually runs everything else. So that's it for the left side of the talent tree. Pretty standard. I'm not gonna go over like every single talent, just because, like I said, most of them are what everybody usually runs. Now for the right side of the talent tree, this is the single target build. For the AoE build, I'll go over those later, but for the AoE, you would be running like Crimson Tempest, Indiscriminate Carnage, stuff like that. But for this build, you're going to be running like Kingsbane, and you're going to be running Serrated Bone Spikes for the extra single target damage, Sudden Demise, which will help out against people low that'll just automatically die. It's kind of like a monk touch death type of thing. It even goes through Monk Cocoon, apparently. I don't see it too often, but if a monk does it like way too low, sometimes they even die through Monk Bubble, which is pretty nice. Shiv, which increases your damage to bleed targets. Instead of like flying daggers, you'll be running stratagem, stuff like that. So that's it for the pretty much the right side of the talent tree. Like I said, most of these are just like pretty standard. It's like a full single target build. Pretty simple. So not much to cover over in that. Now for the honor talents, the hero talents, I run Fatebound. You can run Deathstalker if you want. I've run both. I personally prefer Fatebound. I feel like Deathstalker hasn't really been my go-to anymore. Some people still do run it, which is nice. It's not bad. If you prefer Deathstalker, you can go that route. But I prefer Fatebound because in team fights or longer fights, um, Fatebound does a pretty decent amount of damage with the coin flip. It hits pretty hard. On Deathstalker, I feel like you have to use Ambush to actually use the hero talent tree. So, and you can't always use Ambush except for when you open up on somebody. So, you want to get like say you're in the middle of like getting 1v2 trying to get a base or something, and you can only ambush the main target to get that extra damage, or versus Fatebound, it's just like constant. So that's why I prefer Fatebound. And since most of the time I'll only go over the ones where you can pick, I go with Tempted Fates instead of Chosen Revelry. I go in Inoculated March. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce things. I'm pretty bad at it. For this one, let's see, and then for this one I go for Inevitable End, because we are running Cold Blood, so it'll basically go for Envenom, which will be really nice to hit harder for Envenoms. I've hit 2 million Envenoms before, which has been pretty nice. And everything else you automatically get because you can't choose. So That's it. Pretty simple for the hero talent tree. Now for the um, PvP talents, I go for Veil of Midnight, which removes like all your bleeds and stuff on you. So if you have like Feral on you that's trying to burst you, or another assassin rogue who puts Death Mark on you, you can cloak the shadows of it off and completely negate their entire damage. Very nice. It's going to be removed soon, but if you don't want to use Veil of Midnight, you can use Dismantle, which will help out against melee. Otherwise, you could run, I don't know, something. Not really much other honor talents that really impressed me. So, but you could switch to something else if you don't, if there's like no melee and there's casters. No. Hemotoxin, I always use this, and then Smoke Bomb as the final talent. I always use this. You can always get an insanely good kill with Smoke Bomb if you time it right. So, pretty simple for the most part. Rogue talents are kind of like, you already know what the obvious ones are kind of go to for the most part, compared to a lot of other classes I play where you kind of like switch things up for the most part. I don't really switch things out too often, except for like, Veil of Midnight is the only one you can maybe switch out for, but I hardly switch that one out either. And that's pretty much it for the PvP talents. This is it for the first build. Now let's go over the rotation for the first build. What I usually do is open up with Garrotes, Cheap Shot, Rupture, Shiv, Thistle-Tea, Kingsbane, and to Death Mark. If you want to get full burst out just like right away, you could just pop Shiv and into Death Mark. Actually, I would pop Thistle-Tea, then Death Mark, and then after that you could pop Kingsbane after that. I've done both of those, so that's just if you want to get the full burst right away. Just try to be careful when you death mark somebody, because that's going to be when your main damage is, and if you're facing like a dwarf or a paladin, they're just going to bubble it or remove it, whatever. Or another rogue that cloaks the shadows with Veil of Midnight talent, for example. So you do want to try and be careful on when you death mark, because while rogue's damage outside of death mark isn't necessarily bad, it's not amazing either. So be careful when you use it, because death mark is going to be your biggest damage. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, so just Garrotes, Cheap Shots, Rupture, Shiv, and then you can either, well, after Thistle-Tea, then you death mark and then Kingsbane, or you can Kingsbane then death mark. That's basically what I've been doing, and it's been working out for me for the most part. And that's just it for the rotation for this build. Pretty simple. Now let's go over the second build that I run, and this build is going to be all about cleave damage. So if you're going to be team fighting, for example, if hunters are sitting bases, or if you're in temple, or if you're in Eye of the Storm, I mean, it depends on Eye of the Storm if you're going to be defending or not, but most of the time people will probably be attacking the base anyways. So you could probably run the Eye of the Storm. Silver Shard Mines is another good example. Where you're going to be in team fights a lot, then this build is basically what you're going to be running. So also like Deepal Ravine, because you'll probably be in team fights a decent amount there as well. So this is the build I run with for cleave damage. For the most part, the only thing that's really changing this build is the fact that you're not going to be running Cold Blood and Lethality. You'll be running Deeper Stratagem. So you'll be running this. And then I did switch out a few talents around. These ones kind of just don't really matter. If you don't want to run Rust Shut Up, you could go like Nibble Fingers, etc., and Iron Stomach, so you can get increased healing from your Health Stones and Crimson Vial, which is probably better anyways, over like Fleeting Foots and Rush Setup. So that's up to you. You could still run Elusiveness or Cheat Death on your personal preference. It's up to you. Other than that, left side still pretty much the exact same thing as the other side of the tree. The only ones you really have to switch out are Cold Blood and Lethality. So, for these two. Everything else is kind of like up to you on what you want to run. It's personal preference for the rest. For the right side of the hero foundry, this build is not the single target build, so you'll be switching out Kingsbane for Crimson Tempest. So this build is all about the cleave. Crimson Tempest is going to be your AoE, so no Kingsbane, switch it out for Crimson Tempest. You'll also be running Discriminate Charge, so pick that up as well. Then this build's all about just cleaving everybody down, and that's you'll be doing a lot of damage, and you'll be irritating a lot of people with this cleave build. And then for hero talents, the only one you'll be switching out is Inevitable End for Destiny Defined, because you're not going to be running Cold Blood, so switch it out. Everything else is the same thing as the other one. And then for PvP talents, similar to the last one, you only want to switch out Veil of Midnight if you really want to. But I always ran these three pretty much non-stop, so. And that's going to be that. Now we'll go over the cleave build rotation. This one's kind of like a little bit like all over the place. It's not really as straightforward compared to the single target build. You'll just be going in stealth. You're going to want to garrote cleave as much people as you can, so try to preferably get people that are stacked a little bit more. So like for example, like 2 to 3 people are stacked. Garrote, Rupture, Shiv, Crimson Tempest because we got all stacks, Phantom Knives, Crimson Tempest. If more people are stacked again and you got more subterfuge like I do, you garrote Silence again, and then you Rupture quickly. I wasn't quick enough because I was talking, but you could definitely have enough time to do it again. And yeah, basically the strategy for this build is to garrote, Rupture as many people that are stacked as you can. Like for example, let's do this again. We garrote Silence here, and I'm all like, for example, I'm all the way over here and I just garrote Silence that guy. And then I quickly go over here and see there's another healer over here. I garrote Silence this guy over here. You know what I mean? You want to try and garrote Silence as many people as possible, as well as pop a Rupture. I forgot to say Rupture as well, because you want to get Rupture on as much people as you can. But that's pretty much the goal of this build. What I also like to do is sometimes, like if I'm in the middle of this team fight, like for example, say I'm just doing my normal rotation, garrote, Rupture as much people as I can when it's up, you know, just doing Phantom Knives, Crimson Tempest, all that fun stuff. And then for example, we're doing pretty well in the team fight. I will sometimes vanish offensively into another garrote Silence on as many people nearby, especially healers, preferably healers. And that extra like 2-3 seconds will sometimes land us a kill. It'll help out a lot. And then if they're somehow still alive, then you can just pop a kidney shot on the healer. And then when you see their stuns about to go off, then you can pop a smoke bomb, get a kill that way. I've gotten a lot of kills that way. So like I said, it's not really as extremely straightforward as the single target build. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do, a bunch of different tricks. So, but that's definitely helped me out quite a bit in Battleground Blitz with this build. So hopefully that'll help you guys out. As for Deathmark, it's just pretty much just pop it when you got all your burst on somebody, and then yeah, that's just it. Pop Deathmark after you got your full burst. And yeah, otherwise just keep on spamming Crimson Tempest, Ruptures on as much people as you can with this build, and that's that. So make sure you maintain Garrote and Rupture on your main kill target at all times. Try to make sure you get Garrote Rupture on as much people as they're stacked nearby for your opener, because you got Indiscriminate Carnage. You can, and you think it's necessary, vanish offensively for a Garrote Rupture Silence on a bunch of people. And if you see another person that you want to get a Garrote Rupture on somebody, you can run towards them and Garrote Silence before your Subterfuge is down, and get a Garrote Silence on them. And yeah, that's pretty much the rotation for this build. It's a lot of fun. Definitely run this build on maps like Temple, Silvershard Mines, probably Eye of the Storm, most likely Warsong and Twin Peaks, because you'll probably be in a lot of team fights on that map. But for maps like AB, Deep Wind, and probably Gilneas, depending on obviously if hunters are defending or not. you can run a single target build. So, and that's that. Up next is the single target, or not single target, sorry, the stats. Just go full mastery. That's all there is to it. So you can see I am running full mastery, gems, everything. You can see I am running the gems. As for tier gear, I am running the 4 sets, which when your bleed seal damage, it increases your poison damage, which will help out. When you have 5 stacks of the poison from the 2 sets, your Garrote, Rupture, and Crimson deal even more damage. It'll hit even harder. And this will help out massively with the AoE build, and Garrote Rupture are obviously one of your main damage dealing abilities, so they'll help out with the single target build as well. So that's why I run the 4 set. I run it on the chest, the shoulders, the helmets, and the pants. I don't run it with the gloves. That's pretty much it for stats. Let's go over embellishments. I run the one that deals damage when you have those sockets in, so on both my weapons. Those are the ones I currently run at the moment. So I did run different ones. I forgot which ones I was running. It was the one that increases secondary stats. I think I actually like the gem one more. That's what most rogues I think are running at the moment anyways. So these are the ones I would say to go for. It doesn't have to be on weapons. You can put it on something else if you want. But those are the ones I currently have at the moment. Think that might be it. I might be missing something else. Let's see. Talents, honor talents, stats. Already did. Embellishments, tier. Rotation. I already did it for the builds. Hero talents. Enchants. I don't have any on my bracers and cloak, but you can get those if you want. Chest. I have crystalline radiance. Boots, Scout March. Some rogues run Authority of the Depths. I run Authority of the Radiant Power. For rings, Mastery. That's pretty much all there is to it. Pretty simple. Macros, I don't think I really have anything specific, but other than the Death Mark macro, or like you know, if you want your race ability and your saltwater potions, etc. That's the only one I really have. You can also run like set focus macros for kicks, shadow step, and blind. I'm not using those at the moment, but you can use those as well. Those are more for like high rated arena. Obviously, they would help out probably in battle rounds as well, but I was perfectly fine without it. Wasn't really a huge issue. But you can run those if you want. Everything else I don't really use. That's just it for macros. I think that covers up everything. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if I missed anything. I believe I went over everything, but sometimes I might have missed something, so if I missed anything, let me know in the comment section down below, and hopefully this guide helps you guys out. That's it. See you guys later.